We're recording this episode on Monday, June 30th, the week of Independence Day. And joining me, as always, my friend and colleague, Dr. Orphe Divounguy, PhD economist, and newcomer to the Southeast. How about that?
I love the Southeast. I'm enjoying it. I do have an issue with getting used to the heat.
Yes, sir. It's not the heat; it's the humidity. I think it's great, first of all, and I'll offer you your privacy and not tell everybody in the world where you live, so they don't, show up at your doorway looking for autographs or something like that.
Not that famous. I'm not.
But I don't know. Kind of a big deal. The market that you moved into specifically is one of the markets that's really, really hot. I mean, and not just in terms of the temperature. I mean, literally, that the housing market is hot, and you are in the Southeast. However, that's kind of an exception rather than a rule right now. And the Sun Belt itself, not just the Southeast, but the Sun Belt, which was for, I don't know, 3 years on fire.
I mean, more. I mean, it in some of these markets, it even started before the pandemic.
So I'm talking about, your Arizonas and your Texas and
yeah,
Florida, all the way across basically the United States. If there is a metropolitan market in the southern state, it has demonstrated significant growth. And of course, Florida, I mean, just had incredible growth, very specifically. Arizona had incredible growth. And Texas, in particular, around Austin, but elsewhere around the state, because I mean, it's never just one market that grows, right?
Flocking to Texas and Florida, right?
Yeah. So that the report that you and I were talking about prior to the show, it's a Zillow market report. Two things in there, that things are obviously cooling in the Southeast, or in the Sun Belt in general. But it's becoming a buyer's opportunity. And the flip side of that is, like, some of the most competitive markets right now are in the Northeast. Buffalo, who would have guessed? Hartford, Providence, Rhode Island, Boston. Boston's always has been an interesting market. An expensive market, because you have a lot of permanent jobs there because of the universities and state government and whatnot.
Great healthcare.
Right. I mean, yes. And robotics. So Boston's got a lot going on. And Richmond, Virginia was on that list, which is interesting. Yeah. The 5 least competitive markets right now: Miami, kind of overbuilt, overpriced. I mean, I think for a long time, people I know who've had to move into the greater Miami area, or Miami specifically, have been like, yeah, it's going to be expensive. Houston, New Orleans is on this list. Memphis is on this list, and San Antonio is on this list too. Oddly, there's just the one city in Florida. So what do you make of this, I mean, why, what has actually happened that we maybe saw or didn't see, or we saw it coming and now it's all here?
Well, I mean, look, I personally, I don't think these markets are, let me say this again. I don't think there's a problem in terms of, look, let me rephrase this. I love the amount of supply that we're getting. I love that. If you look at, these are markets that built a lot during the pandemic. And on top of that, you now have some sellers that are coming back on the market. In Miami, inventory is up 24% from a year ago. In Atlanta, 30%. Year over year. Dallas, 32, Houston, 31, Phoenix, 36% year over year, compared to minus 3% in Buffalo, right? Inventory is actually shrinking, right, in Buffalo, or just 16% in Providence, Rhode Island, or 12% 13% in Pittsburgh, right? it's all a supply and it's all about supply. Now the problem with the Sun Belt is that on the demand side, there could be some issues, right? What are some of the issues? I just looked at like the concentration in student debt, student delinquency rates concentrated in those markets.
Was that right?
Yeah, and
So hold on a second. So analyze that for a bit.
yeah, so I mean, you have millennials, peak home buying age folks, now facing an increase in having to make payments on student loans that they haven't had to make it in a long time. And of course, that's going to hurt. You combine that with a slowing labor market, all of those, the slowing U.S. economy, you basically have a squeeze that's happening nationwide, but potentially a little bit more in some of these states. Now add the insurance saga. The fact that insurance costs have risen more in some of these markets than in relative to other markets also is going to hit hard. First, if you own a second home, maybe you're not feeling quite comfortable owning it anymore. Second, if you're an older person, a retiree, and I'm talking about Florida condos, for example, you may be feeling the pinch and might be wanting to sell that Florida condo. And then on the demand side, of course, it means that, look, if insurance costs are very high, you may not be able, it's an affordability story. You know, you get a mortgage, you got to get insurance. And you're like, okay, well, can I afford the mortgage plus maybe PMI because I didn't have enough of a down payment plus the insurance cost to insure this home? And it hurts. It reduces your purchasing power. And so all of these things are happening in some of these southern markets, and it could potentially be the reason why we're seeing this big increase in housing inventory.
Yeah.
And fewer home sales.
Right. I mean, obviously, if you don't have the money and, because you have other debt obligations, or you don't like the idea that interest rates are still hanging out between 6 and 7%. And that's
it's not that you don't like it. It's not that you don't like it. You just, you look at the budget.
Right.
Right. You do the math and it just doesn't work out.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. But there still remains, I think, a faction of home buyers out there that are just waiting for the discount and the deals to happen. And I'll tell you, the people that have done that and who have held out on buying a new car, I think they're reaping some rewards right now. But that's really doesn't have anything to do with interest rates being better. It has to do with certain brands not building products that people were all that excited about. And I think that is where the deals are. That doesn't necessarily equate to the housing market.
Yeah. And honestly, if no one's excited about something, like, do you really want to be out there buying it? Right.
Well, that's it. I mean, I think, what you're seeing is that the domestic manufacturers that are selling electric vehicles, that the deals on electric vehicles they're pretty smoking right now.
Well,
I don't want to take us too far.
I want to leave you with a
really, yeah, please. Yeah. Let's get
really
there.
Cool stat. According to Zillow data, nationwide, you had roughly 5.5 shoppers per listing. Shoppers meaning people who had clicked, saved, shared a listing on Zillow, right? It was they were intentional, but they were held back by what? Well, potentially affordability, right? And so you have a lot of pent up demand. You have a lot of people that are out there looking and waiting to see if they can actually make the numbers work, right? And I think that's really, really telling about the housing market. So you have these markets that have slowed, but you also have, as a nationwide, you have markets that are in those markets we talked about in the Northeast, you have more than 10 shoppers per listing. 10 people are active, right? Clicking, sharing, saving listings because they're interested, and potentially the only thing holding them back is affordability. And of course, in those markets where you have more shoppers per listings, homes sell faster, right? And you continue to see strong price growth, relatively, right? Relative to other places across the country. So, I thought that was a really cool stat. It's one of my favorite new stats that I'm playing around with.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I think that is absolutely insightful.